The Galactic Council had one universal law that every species agreed on: never trust a predator. And then they met humans who brought their predators with them. This is the story of how humanity's strangest ability changed the galaxy forever. Ambassador Krellix had seen many strange things in his 40 years serving the Galactic Council, but nothing prepared him for what walked through the airlock of the human delegation ship. A beast. 4 legs, sharp teeth, eyes that tracked movement like a hunter. It walked beside the human ambassador as if it belonged there. Ambassador Chen, Krellix's translator, struggled to keep the tremor from his voice. Why have you brought a predator onto the station?" The human woman smiled. "This is Max. He's my dog." "Your dog?" "My companion, my friend." Krellix's 3 primary eyes widened in disbelief. The creature, this dog, sat down next to the human. Its tail moved in a repetitive sweeping motion. It looked up at the human with what could only be described as affection? "You keep a carnivore as a friend?" Krellix backed away slowly. "This violates Protocol 7 of station safety regulations." "Max isn't dangerous," Ambassador Chen said calmly. "He's been with humans for over 30,000 years. We evolved together." "Impossible! No species befriends their predators. It defies all logic, all survival instinct." Chen knelt down next to Max. The beast immediately pressed against her, and she ran her hand through its fur. "We don't just befriend them, Ambassador. We love them. They're family." Here's what the Galactic Council didn't understand about humans. Every other species in the galaxy followed the same pattern. Herbivores fled from predators. Predators hunted prey. The strong dominated the weak. But humans? Humans looked at wolves, apex predators that could tear them apart, and said, "Let's be friends." And somehow, impossibly, the wolves agreed. It started 30,000 years ago when a wolf pack and a human tribe realized they were stronger together than apart. The wolves got food and warmth. The humans got protection and hunting partners. But something deeper happened. Something that changed both species forever. They bonded. Not just cooperation, not just mutual benefit, real emotional connection that transcended species barriers. And humans never stopped doing it. The council chamber erupted in chaos 3 days later when Ambassador Chen formally requested that her companion animals be allowed on all human vessels and stations. "This is madness!" shouted Counselor Vex Thor, a crystalline being whose species had never known predation. "You're asking us to allow predators to roam freely among us." "Not just predators," Ambassador Chen replied, bringing up a holographic display. "Let me introduce you to humanity's companions." The display showed dozens of species. The council fell silent. Dogs of every size, some small enough to fit in a hand, others large enough to ride. Cats, sleek and independent. Birds with brilliant feathers. Small mammals that fit in pockets. Reptiles with scales that shimmered. Even fish swimming in contained habitats. "You've domesticated all of these?" Krellix whispered. "We prefer the term befriended. Some, like dogs and cats, live in our homes. Others we care for and protect. We have entire facilities dedicated to preserving species that would otherwise go extinct." "But why?" asked Counselor Zara, a tentacled being from the oceanic world of Tethys Prime. "They make us happy. They love us unconditionally. They teach us empathy, responsibility, patience, and in return, we give them safety, food, medical care, and love." She pulled up another image, a small human child sleeping peacefully curled up against a massive dog that watched over her with protective eyes. "This is my daughter, Emma. That's our family dog, Bear. He would die to protect her, and she loves him more than most things in the world." The council chamber was silent for a long moment. "This is a psychological disorder," Vex Thor declared. "No rational species would willingly cohabit with predators." "Actually," Chen said, "it might be our greatest strength." What happened next would change galactic history. 2 weeks after the Council denied humanity's request, the Zenith Research Station sent out a distress call. A quantum containment failure had released a swarm of void wraiths, semi-corporeal predators that could phase through walls and standard defenses. 12 species tried to help. All 12 failed. The wraiths were too fast, too unpredictable. They didn't follow standard predator patterns. The station was being evacuated when the human ship, Companion, arrived. Captain Marcus Webb opened the cargo bay doors, and the council representatives watching the rescue operation couldn't believe what they saw. Dogs, hundreds of them. Search and rescue dogs trained to find survivors in collapsed buildings, tracking dogs that could follow scent trails through anything, protection dogs trained to defend against threats, and one very special dog named Luna. Luna was a Belgian Malinois, trained for what humans called threat detection, but she had a unique ability. She could sense things that most beings couldn't. As the human teams deployed with their canine partners, Luna stood at the front of the pack. Her ears swiveled, tracking sounds beyond normal hearing. Her nose worked, processing thousands of scents simultaneously. And then she found them. The void wraiths might phase through walls, but they couldn't hide their scent. They couldn't mask the electromagnetic disturbances they created. They couldn't silence the high-frequency sounds they made. Luna could detect all of it. She barked once, a sharp, commanding sound. The other dogs responded immediately, forming teams with their human handlers. The hunt began. Ambassador Krellix watched from the command deck as the humans and their dogs moved through the station. It was like watching a single organism with dozens of parts, all moving in perfect coordination. The dogs would locate the wraiths, the humans would use specialized equipment to force them into corporeal form. Then the protection dogs would hold them at bay while containment teams secured them. But it was more than just tactics, it was the bond. A handler named Sarah moved through a collapsed corridor with her German shepherd, Odin. When debris blocked their path, Odin squeezed through and barked to indicate it was safe. When a wraith attacked from an unexpected angle, Odin put himself between it and Sarah without hesitation. And Sarah did the same for him. When Odin was cornered by 2 wraiths, Sarah charged in with a containment net, risking her own life to protect her partner. They weren't just working together, they were protecting each other, trusting each other with their lives. "This is impossible," Krellix muttered. "A predator protecting a human risking death for an animal." His aide, a young Telsian, Quinn, whispered back, "I don't think they see each other as predator and prey. I think they see each other as family." 6 hours later, every wraith was contained. The station was secure, and not a single human or dog had been lost. Captain Webb stood in the docking bay, dogs resting beside their handlers. Luna sat at his feet, her tongue lolling out in what humans called a smile. Ambassador Krellix approached slowly. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you do what 12 species could not?" Webb knelt down and scratched Luna behind her ears. "We didn't do it alone. Our dogs can sense things we can't, track things we can't. They're faster, stronger in some ways, have better senses in others, and they trust us completely." "But they're predators," Krellix said. "Every instinct tells me they should be dangerous." "They were," Webb admitted. 30,000 years ago, wolves were one of our greatest threats, but instead of exterminating them or fleeing from them, we chose a different path." "What path?" Webb looked down at Luna, who gazed back with complete trust and affection. "We chose friendship. We chose family. And it changed us both forever." The Galactic Council called an emergency session 3 days later. This time, Ambassador Chen wasn't alone. She brought Max, and Captain Webb brought Luna, and Dr. Sarah Kim brought Odin, and a dozen other humans brought their companions. The chamber, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of worlds, had never been so quiet. "Members of the Council," Chen began, "you've seen what our bond with other species can accomplish. Now I'd like to explain what it means." She gestured, and a holographic display activated. It showed Earth's history, not of wars or technology, but of companionship. 15,000 years ago, we domesticated cats to protect our grain stores from rodents. But we didn't just use them, we welcomed them into our homes, made them part of our families. The display shifted. 5,000 years ago, we began keeping birds as companions, not for food, not for work, just for their beauty and their songs. Another shift. 3,000 years ago, we started caring for horses. Yes, they helped us travel and farm, but we also loved them, named them, mourned when they died. Chen's voice grew stronger. And we never stopped. Every species you see here, dogs, cats, birds, rabbits, even reptiles and fish, we've brought into our lives, not as slaves or tools, but as friends, as family. Counselor Vexthor interrupted. "This is sentiment, not logic. How does this emotional attachment benefit your species?" Dr. Kim stepped forward with Odin at her side. "Studies show that humans who live with companion animals live longer, healthier lives. We have lower stress, better heart health, reduced depression. Children who grow up with animals develop stronger empathy and emotional intelligence." "But it's more than that," Captain Webb added. "These bonds make us better. They teach us to care for beings different from ourselves, to communicate across species barriers, to build trust with creatures that don't speak our language." Luna's tail wagged as Webb scratched her ears. "And that skill," Webb continued, "is exactly what the galaxy needs." The council chamber fell silent. Then Counselor Zara spoke, her tentacles rippling with what might have been emotion. "I have studied human behavior since first contact. This pack bonding, as you call it. You don't just do it with animals, do you?" Ambassador Chen smiled. "No, we don't." She pulled up new images. Humans working alongside aliens of every description, not just as colleagues, but as friends, trading jokes, sharing meals, celebrating together. "We bond with anyone," Chen said simply. "Anything. It doesn't matter if you're a carbon-based life form, silicon-based, crystalline, or energy beings. If you're sentient, if you're kind, we'll bond with you." She looked around the chamber. "We've been doing it since we first left Earth. Human engineers bonded with Telsian mechanics. Human doctors bonded with Kravathi healers. Human teachers bonded with Zentari students. We even bonded with our cleaning robots," Dr. Kim added with a laugh. "We name them. We thank them for their work. We get upset when they malfunction." A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the council. "This is why you trust predators," Krelix said slowly, understanding dawning. "You see potential friends everywhere you look." "Exactly," Chen confirmed. "When we first encountered wolves, we didn't see just predators. We saw intelligence, loyalty, the possibility of friendship. And we were right." Webb gestured to all the dogs in the chamber. "These aren't our servants or our tools. They're our partners, our family, and they feel the same way about us." As if to demonstrate, Luna looked up at Webb with absolute adoration. Max pressed against Chen's leg affectionately. Odin sat perfectly still beside Dr. Kim, watching her for any signal she might need. "You've weaponized friendship," Vexthor said, his tone caught between accusation and awe. "No," Chen corrected gently. We just never stopped believing that friendship is possible, even with beings completely different from us. The vote came 2 hours later. The council agreed unanimously. Humans could bring their companion animals to any station or vessel. But more than that, they established the Interspecies Bond Initiative, with humanity leading the research. Because if humans could bond with predators, with beings that should have been their enemies, maybe they could teach the galaxy to do the same. 6 months later, Ambassador Krelix made a request that surprised everyone, including himself. He wanted to try something, an experiment. The humans brought him to a shelter, a place where animals without homes were cared for until they could find families. "I don't understand," Krelix said, looking at the rows of enclosures. "Why keep animals that no one wants?" "Because they deserve love too," answered the shelter volunteer, a young woman named Maya. "And we believe there's a perfect companion for everyone, even you, Ambassador." She led him to a quiet corner where a small orange cat lay curled in a beam of sunlight. "This is Marmalade," Maya said. "She's old, she's shy, and she's been here for 2 years. No one wants an older cat who doesn't like loud noises or quick movements." Krelix looked at the cat. The cat opened one eye and looked back. "She won't hurt you," Maya encouraged. "Just sit with her. See what happens." Slowly, carefully, Krelix sat on the floor, something he'd never done in his entire diplomatic career. The cat watched him with lazy interest. Then, after a long moment, Marmalade stood, stretched, and walked over to him. She sniffed his outstretched hand, rubbed her head against it, and began to purr, a sound Krelix had never heard before. "What is she doing?" he whispered, afraid to move. "She likes you," Maya said softly. "She's chosen you." Krelix stayed there for an hour, the small cat purring in his lap. When he finally stood to leave, Maya asked the question, "Would you like to take her home?" Krelix looked down at Marmalade. Marmalade looked back with half-closed eyes, utterly content. "Yes," he heard himself say. "Yes, I would." 3 months after that, the Galactic Council chambers had changed. Not just human representatives had companions now. Krelix brought Marmalade, who slept peacefully on his desk during long sessions. Counselor Zara had adopted something humans called a betta fish that swam in a specialized aquatic habitat. Even Vexthor, who most strongly opposed the idea, had been seen with a small bird that sang crystalline songs that resonated with his silicon-based biology. The galaxy was learning what humans had known for 30,000 years. Friendship isn't limited by species. Love doesn't require similarity, and the bond between different beings can make both of them stronger. Ambassador Chen stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, Max sleeping at her feet. She looked out at the hundreds of ships from dozens of species, many now carrying companions of their own. "You did it," Captain Webb said, joining her with Luna. "You changed the galaxy's mind about pack bonding." Chen smiled. "We just showed them what was always possible, that the space between species isn't a barrier, it's a bridge, and all you have to do is choose to cross it." She knelt down and hugged Max. "Right, boy?" Max's tail wagged so hard his entire body wiggled. "Humans are insane," said a passing Telshian merchant, a small rabbit-like creature perched on his shoulder. "Absolutely insane." "Thank you," Chen replied cheerfully. "Because in a galaxy of logic and order, and species staying with their own kind, humanity had brought something revolutionary. The radical idea that love transcends everything, that a predator can be family, that an alien can be a friend, that the smallest act of kindness can change the universe. And it all started because one species looked at a wolf and said, "Come inside, you're one of us now." What makes you bond with others? What's your favorite animal companion? Share your stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story about humanity's pack bonding instinct, check out my other HFY stories where we explore what makes humans unique among the stars. Hit subscribe for more stories about humanity's place in the galaxy. And remember, in the cold vastness of space, we're never alone, because we bring our friends with us.